reported to this caucus. He comes to every caucus meeting, and he's limited in terms of his time. So I'm Pat Soldano, President of Family Enterprise USA. This is our fourth caucus meeting with Congress. We're so happy to support the Congressional Family Business Caucus through Family Enterprise USA. This is our first meeting of the year, and the theme is workforce issues. So we have people up here that are employees of family businesses and some family business owners. But I'm going to ask Congressman Schneider to say a few words about family businesses to start us off.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome to Washington, Capitol. Washington is increasingly looking, or Congress is increasingly looking like a dysfunctional family business every day. So it should feel like home. Oh, thank you. When we started this caucus a little over a year and a half ago now, I think years ago, I could not have been more excited. As I've said many times, this is from where I come. I grew up, my father was a CPA, but both his father and my mother's father had businesses. He was an advisor to businesses. I followed in my dad's footsteps and counseled family businesses. My sister followed in the footsteps and worked with my dad for up until the end of his life. They worked together. So I know from both sides, the inside of the family. I left out my wife, and my wife's family was an insurance business. I know from the inside what it's like to be in a family business, but also know from the outside. And I will tell you, in my experience, it was much easier to tell other people how to run their family business than to run mine. That's just the nature of things. The other thing I know, and this I'll bring in and overlay my experience as a representative now for more than a decade. Family businesses are the fabric of our communities. They are, you go into any community, large or small, urban or rural, and you're going to see businesses that are there, have been there for generations. So-and-so down the road grew up with such and such parents, and they took care of them. One of our closest friends is not just a client of my wife, but his grandfather and my wife's grandfather worked together. That is the way family businesses go, those generational things. And communities are stronger when our small businesses are stronger. That's a blanket statement. But I will hold fast to the belief that small businesses are stronger when they are family businesses. And my definition of family business is fairly broad. If more than one family member's in business, bingo, made it there. If one of the principal or owners of the business has more than half their net worth in that business, it is a family business. Because everything that happens in that business affects, getting a lot of nods. You know what I'm talking about. So I know the importance of that. And I had the privilege of visiting Nielsen Massey last month, one of the leaders in this organization, but one of the proud companies in my district, and it was great to see multiple generations working across. And we talked about, I won't talk about the secrets of the business, but the decision and the values of the family reflected in the commitments the business makes at home and around the world to the community. That's what you see in family business. So this caucus is really important. Important that you are here. It's nice that you're here. It's important that you're here. It's more important that as you're here, even as you're home, you talk to your elected representatives, not just in the House, but in the Senate and at the state level, so they understand. I'm here with John Duarte. We are of different parties, but we share a common view that we're both here to try to move our country forward, to invest in our kids, to make our community stronger. And whether it's Republican or Democrat, understanding that the decisions we make have an impact on the decisions you all make, and the decisions you all make are what really drive our economy and our local communities are critical. So being here, talking to members, building those relationships, I can't overstate how important it is. So again, thank you for being here, and thank you for giving me the chance to say hello.
So I know you have limited time, but does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask the congressman while he's here?
Anything's fair game.
Yeah, I have one. So how do you reconcile the government leadership that you're required to perform against the family business side of consequences, and try and figure out how to move one side over here that helps the family side over here, because you really limit
Yep.
And that seems to be, from a family business standpoint, where something breaks down. And I'm not sure I understand it.
So let me answer two questions. One you sort of asked in the other one, because it's, so I was a family business advisor consultant. I went into business, and we would get called in. Oftentimes things weren't in great shape. We're going into a crisis or trouble with water. And I've been on both sides, the manager side and the consultant side. As a consultant, I had no authority. I could tell people to push a button or pull a lever. No one ever asked how high after I said jump. No one said, yes, sir. It was not an option. I was going to move the needle or get from, as you said, from here to there, or to be to understanding the problem, seeing the problem from other people's eyes, and getting people to the common ground to work together. And so, on a personal level, my experience in family business, knowing that the presenting issue is not always the issue, you can go to all things you've read in books, but that good people at the end of the day can find common ground and work together, and that experience of getting people to do it without having the authority to do it, but more the persuasive ability, that's this job. So I use my experience and perspective every day. But also understanding the law of unintended consequences, understanding that what we do here really does matter. And just a quick side story, when I was first running in my first primary, this was 2011, I was at a high school debate, and I was turning 50, so it was a big moment for me. My opponent was turning 25. I had a couple others, but that was my primary, which bothered me. But we were in front of these high school kids, and they said, what's a saying? Well, one was their favorite song. I wanted to go there. I did not do all my questions, but what is the famous? What would you tell students? And I told them, dig deeper. When you think you have the answer, there's more to learn. Dig deeper. And I think that's true on what we do here. We all come from our various experiences. John will tell you it is. And we come with what we know, but we don't know everything. And the more we listen to each other, and then most importantly, as I said, you being here talking is vital, listening to the challenges you face, and what are the impacts they're going to have. We're going to be, I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. We know we're going to be elbow deep, probably neck deep, in the tax code next year. And if you look at what we did in 2000, what Congress did in 2017, there was very little focus on pass-through entities. I'm guessing most of you, if not all of you, are a pass-through entity here. And so there was a bandage put on to try to fix that problem. When the corporate rate is 35% and the highest individual rate is 39%, the decision what to do takes on one meaning. So when the high rate is 39% and the corporate rate is 15 or 21%, we're in a completely different world. And we have to think those through. And the way you ask how to balance is listening. Back to that high school debate, one of my favorite sayings, and I quote my grandmother, 2 ears, 1 mouth, using the proportion. We have to understand, folks, to cover to understand before we understand. We have to make sure we're understanding the impacts of what we do will be, or likely be, before we make a decision to go down that path. Long answer for the question.
No, but very thoughtful.
Thank you.
So, Congressman Snyder, before you leave and we turn it over to Congressman Duarte, I would like this panel to introduce themselves so you know the family businesses that are
I've got
represented.
another 15 minutes, so
Oh, perfect. Okay, so why don't we start at the end?
Yeah, Ron Nash, Lead Creator International. I'm Brian Dumbach. I'm the non-family president of a company called GSM Industrial. We're a specialty manufacturer and weld shop, and we have a roofing company as well in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm Paige Davoris. I am Executive VP and second generation to Global First Flagship, and we are Department of Defense contractors to the Navy based out of Irvine, California.
Good afternoon. Nicole DeGidio. I'm with Global First Flagship Company, non-family. Been with the company 18 plus years.
I'm Robert Loggins, Bush Brothers and Company. I work in Knoxville, Tennessee. A non-family member, but I lead our external affairs group.
The beans, right?
The beans, that's right.
And the dog.
The dog.
Advertising works.
Hello, Congressman. My name is Dennis Wang. I am the CEO of Golden Star Technology, second generation business owner. My parents started the business in 1985 after immigrating from Taiwan. We provide IT and AV hardware, software, and technical services to a wide range of clients. Hello, my name is Henry No, and I am the Senior Vice President for Golden Star Technology. I'm a non-member working for the family-owned business for 28 years now. Yes.
I'm Chris Paz, President of Trophy Automotive Dealer Group, non-family member, and we are a consolidator of car dealerships out of Los Angeles, California.
So Congressman Duarte, do you want to say a few words?
Always am a congressman. Come on. No, I'm John Duarte. My family's been in family business and farming. There's no record of us not being in family business and farming. In California, we have a large tree and vine nursery. We sell grapevines, almond trees, pistachio trees, walnut trees to farmers up and down the state. So I not only am a farmer, I farm farmers. And so I've got my background in finance and MBA, and I've come up through the business. This is my first job outside the family business since I've been born, really. And bus tables in college, sold souvenirs at Jack Murphy Stadium. So that's all I've done is work in nursery greenhouse operations, work in farming, have a farm business with my wife and our son's back from college. They're kind of watching the shop with my brother in the nursery business while I'm here in Congress. So I understand intimately tax policy as perceived by family businesses. I understand the ups and downs and the cycles, the inflationary cycles, the farm crises that we seem to hit. And I really think family business is uniquely impacted by government silliness. I always say there's about a 1 in 10, every 10-year drumbeat from, kind of the savings and loan crisis all the way back in the Carter era and the inflation that happened there. You go forward to the tearing down the Berlin Wall and pretty much crashing the defense industry and causing a recession in the 1990s, right after I got out of college. You go forward, we didn't need to have a dot-com bubble. We could have handled the accounting right there. We didn't. We chose not to. And we had a dot-com bubble and a burst and a recession there with 9/11 kind of as a topper on that. Then you go forward to the savings and loan crisis. I'm not saving loan. The home mortgage crisis we had in the Great Recession. Again, totally unnecessary. So there's a lot of government policies that are just careless in the name. And unfortunately, family businesses can't hit the capital markets like large business can, like public business can. And so we're stuck going to our banks at times when banks don't want to talk to us. And so one thing I'd like to see in the tax code, and I'm not on Ways and Means, I'm still on, ag and natural resources and T&I, which is great if you're a farmer. It's all the dirty fingernails committees. But I really think Ways and Means needs to look at family business and say, can we do they used to call it a farm savings account. Can we do an escrowing of profits that family businesses can keep in a liquid assets account so that when these bad times come, we've got some money tucked away that hasn't been tax exposed. Also, I look at the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act as about the best tax legislation we've seen in my working lifetime, which is complete. But I mean, the 20% deduction for pass-throughs was a good patch. It gave us what I think is some parity with the 21% corporate tax rate, and that's worked well. But again, the tax loss carry forwards and carrybacks, that worked really well. The ability to apply bonus depreciation towards both new and used assets, that works really well. If we look at some of the proposals that were on the march before, when the first Biden tax revisions came out to these plans, there was a lot that threatened us. There was a lot there to get rid of the high exclusions on capital gains tax. That's a threat to family business. But then to compound that with making a state transfer a capital gains realization event, that's a disaster. And then to tell us, well, you can buy your company back from the government, we just finance it for you. Well, that sounded like one level of idiocy when interest rates were at 2 and 3%. At 7 or 8%, that sounds like something altogether different. And I couldn't imagine having to go through those trains at a time now where, in America, private business is on the heels. The consumer has been crushed by inflation. We don't have an American energy program that really optimizes for it. It's coming down the backs of our consumers. We're seeing, almonds, wine, cheese, all premium foods back up in inventory. consumer effect across the entire economy, whether you're selling clothing or soaps or lotions or any kind of premium consumer good, our consumer is gone. We're seeing, I heard we're seeing it in landfill data. We're just not generating the waste. So I really do believe that tax policy matters. The other good thing about the tax policy we have is, last year we came in about $900 billion higher than the Tax Cut and Jobs Act was scored at. So the Laffer efficiency, the Laffer curve, the efficiency of these taxes is incredibly high, and American businesses are making decisions based on profits and opportunities and market needs. We've all made decisions on taxes when taxes are incredibly high. We all reallocate our capital as tax avoidance to avoid that. I mean, we know that if we incentivize things, we change behavior. That's why we have home loan deductions and research investment tax credits. That's what we do with taxes. And so we know they have an effect on company behavior. So I'm very sensitive to these things. Also, in California, we've got an exodus of business because we're insulting them. I don't know if any of you heard about a wheat farmer who was sued for planting wheat in a wheat field. That was me. I literally had the federal government coming down on me for doing something on a property that had been done dozens of times before. A lot of people throw their hands up. Now in California, the popular thing is the Private Attorney General's Act PAGA lawsuits, where if your time clock went tick instead of talk at one point 10 years ago, and you can't prove otherwise, you may be on the hook for millions of dollars in losses, and probably the biggest check you're going to write is the opposing counsel's fees that will be inflated in gain and probably gobbled through by a Democrat-appointed judge. I mean, these are things that are destroying family business. And now when we push family business into institutional ownership, you get bad management. We just saw, a huge packing house family, two families merged, Freeman Wawona in the Central Valley, sold out to private equity, which is actually public pension funds. The investment source on most private equity investments is public pensions. So there's really no tax gain there because it's all going to pass through to retirees who are in the $100,000 range. They're not exposed to much tax, right? So you're moving from family business ownership to public pensions, pass-throughs, and then they go bankrupt. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing just a huge weeding out in this economy of a lot of these leveraged up and private equity buyouts. So family business is more durable, more sustainable, more long-lasting. In Modesto, we've had one with Royal Robbins, High Tech. A lot of our outdoor clothing companies have been sold out over the decades. Save Mart supermarkets, Foster Farms, chickens have all gone to private equity. And the first thing we see is the corporate offices closed, get moved to the big city, and now all we've got are the line jobs. And we don't have those families that show up at our auctions, that show up at our art centers and really support the community in a robust way. So I think these are all values that family businesses bring to communities. They get lost when we don't allow the family businesses to at least get themselves through some tough times as they come. And hopefully, as governance, we do have to think about, Bitcoin. Is that the next bubble that's going to cause a crash? I think it is. Should we regulate it, or should we just warn people this is being by these pop tops and baseball cards? That's the question we're facing right now. Do we want to set ourselves up for another bubble? So anyways, I'd be happy to take a few questions from there.
So I want to back up a second. I'm glad both of you talked about pass-through entities because we've done the survey and the results are that 80% of family businesses operate as a pass-through. So you're right, 199A is very important. I want to step back a second because we didn't have an opportunity to really explain Family Enterprise USA and this Congressional Family Business Caucus. So just quickly, Family Enterprise USA advocates for generationally owned family businesses and their lifetimes of savings. We represent small, medium, and large family businesses from all industries. And to that, Michael, I'm going to ask you to play the 90-second caucus video because we wanted to be able to communicate what this Congressional Caucus is all about. And we think 90 seconds is the way to do it. So if we'll just all look at this video, then I think we'll all have a grasp of what we're doing in this room today.
The bipartisan Congressional Family Business Caucus was formed in late 2022 and has 4 co-chairs. They are Jody Arrington, Republican of Texas, Representative Brad Schneider, Democrat of Illinois, Representative Claudia Tenney, Republican of New York, and Representative Henry Cuellar, Democrat of Texas. The purpose of the caucus is to raise awareness and educate about how family businesses impact the U.S. economy, job creation, and their communities. It does this by bringing together members of Congress and family business owners to have a conversation at caucus meetings in D.C. It also provides research and data on family business ownership and challenges. It is an educational and not a policy caucus. For more information about the Congressional Family Business Caucus, please visit feusa.us.
Thank you, Michael. So the purpose of this caucus meeting is, as I mentioned earlier, the theme is workforce issues. And so we have panelists up here from family businesses and employees from those businesses. So I want to first recognize Congresswoman Miller. Thank you so much for coming. But I'd like to have the panel have time to tell their stories. So if we can quickly start with you, Ron, and talk to us about the family business that you work with.
Great. So I work with Lady Green International, as I said before. We are a now 3rd generation family-owned construction chemicals business. We invented Thinset, which adheres tile and stone. So you've probably walked on us before. We are a global company. We export technologies all over the world, American innovation, actually. Some of our innovations have caused and changed the way tile and stone have been set in the world. In fact, some of the largest projects in the world have been specified with our materials. The top 10 largest or tallest buildings in the world, 8 of them have Lead products in it. American innovation. And some of the things that we are concerned about right now are policies that have unintended consequences. I know that you're in agriculture, and I happen to know that agriculture has had a very on things like fertilizers. And if we look at where fertilizers come from, it's the petrochemical industry. You know, it's a challenging time right now to find technology that we can buy locally in America because of some of our policies. And I'm concerned that not only do we not have the skilled labor, the chemists, as we used to have coming out of colleges, we also don't have the doers and makers of things coming out of colleges anymore because we stopped teaching how to build and how to work with our hands, and that's hitting us really hard. So if you think about my 3 chief concerns and you look at the people that are in this room, we are the employers. 65% of all payroll comes from our types of businesses. You know, we are the innovators. We are the ones who are agile. We're smaller. We can make those decisions quickly. But we can't do so without support, like things like the R&D tax credit. Everyone that I talked to today seems to agree on that. But for some reason, the only thing we can talk about is the next small continuation of a good idea. America needs to start investing in America again. And we need to invest in the people who are willing to get their hands dirty and do and make things. And we need to use our tax dollars in order to build the next generation of youth that want to build cars and fix my equipment and do the chemistry that we need to do. So I would say that I'm really honored to have the opportunity to talk here to represent our business, our small business, which is not quite so small anymore. And I would say, boy, if my 3rd grade teacher could see me now, it would be something. But I am really proud to be a family business, and I'm proud to be a member of this caucus, and I hope to do some good for the rest of us.
So Ron, how many employees does the business have?
So we have 500 souls in North America that I'm responsible for, and we have also manufacturing outside of the country. American technology being exported, doing good in the world.
Thank you. Brian.
So we are an employer of about 200 tradespeople. Mostly half of our business is in the industrial space where we're welding, millwrights, mechanics doing work for other manufacturers in the heavy industry, and we do a lot of custom fabrication work. We build things that are not sexy at all, like regenerative thermal oxidizers and large duct work and things for pollution control and that kind of thing. And then we have about 100 folks or so in our roofing company, and so they're also hiring folks that are working on a hourly wage, day to day, working paycheck to paycheck. We have some multi-generational family members working for the business that are not in the ownership of the family. So, son-in-laws that are fortunate enough to get them interested in the trades and bring them along. But relative to workforce, there's a lot of things that are difficult, but finding folks, we happen to have a pretty good trade school close to us that they do a really good job of training welders, but they need support too. They can't put through enough people to support all the folks in our industry. So finding them tough, and then keeping them is just as tough. The wages keep getting bumped up, and they're making what we think is pretty good money, and we pay a really good benefits program. They're not always looking at that when they're looking at the competition, and so they're getting moved away for another couple dollars an hour, even though the health insurance might be not as strong, or whatever the benefits package is. Of course, our benefits costs, health insurance is getting more expensive every year by double digits, and we can't pass that along. Our customers just won't. We can't afford to just pass all that along, so we end up getting shrunk more and more. And just the other thing I'll mention quick is that we have a family foundation, so the family is very committed to giving back to the local community. So we take a portion of our profits, put it into the foundation, and then that gets out to the local fire company, and the local trade school will help kids with scholarships and that kind of thing. And it could be a local baseball team or whatever it is. So we try to keep a lot of that community support local as well to our businesses.
Thank you. So Paige, you want to introduce your company, so you're a family member within the company? Yes. And then you can introduce Nicole, who is the
Can I warn you? I'm here from Mulligan. We've got boats that are going to trigger at about 4 o'clock, which means we've got about 10 minutes. So just.
Okay, so what I would ask you is, could you please, if you have any questions, they're here to answer your questions.
I'm here to answer your questions. I'm very interested in this. We're
Okay.
a hard ball.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
I'll cut my notes in about half, or maybe a third. Okay, so I mentioned we are Department of Defense contractors for the Navy. Specifically, we operate all of the Navy's inactive shipyards, and then we also have a contract that does emergency response, environmental remediation, underwater ship husbandry, things like that. And we have just under 500 employees. My mom started the company in 2005 with just one contract, about 30 employees, and grew the business from there. And to your point, not only is it a family business with myself and my mom, but we have people that have worked for us. Our site manager in Virginia started when he was 18, and now both of his sons and his daughter work for us. We have brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, mothers, sons, and I think that speaks a lot to the values and the culture that we have created within the company. And the employees really, and I think this is true for all family businesses, are at the heart of what we do. We spend a lot of time out with our employees at the sites. And one of the biggest challenges that we're faced with is finding, and I think you're going to hear this across the board, is finding specifically maritime skilled trades. And I think that this really starts with the education system. We have lost a lot of kids that used to do shop or trade, learn the trades in the school system. Letting them know that college maybe isn't for everybody and not necessary in today's job market, and that it's perfectly very respectable to go into skilled trades and have a long career with that. So we are trying to incorporate things like internships, apprenticeship programs, training programs, things like that to get riggers, hazmat technicians, electricians, mechanics, all of those skilled trades. And one other point I wanted to make real quickly is also promoting the skilled trades not only through the education system but also through the military as well. We think that promoting the military and having a workforce that has come out of the military gives people education in those skilled trades and also a lot of professionalism. We really enjoy and have good success with hiring folks coming out of the military. So I'm not going to go into all the rest of that stuff, but I appreciate your time and thank you so much.
So you want to introduce Nicole?
Nicole, sorry. Yes.
All right, I'm going to cut mine in half as well. Once again, Nicole DeGidio. I've been with the company now for 18 years, and I just wanted to speak a little bit about what it's like to be part of a family business. One, very much with the values, but one of the things that you said, Congressman Dorday, is that when we hit that recession, the Great Recession, and small businesses were having a hard time making payroll, one of the things that our CEO did was brought all of us into our room, into the conference room, and reassured us that we were good. And having that stability and just had us focus on our job on a day-to-day. And so we were able to go home with a sense of confidence that our jobs were intact. But there's a lot of good things of working for a family business. The values, being connected to the community, the outreach that we do, the family sense. Our opinions matter. And one of the things is if you're brought to the table, then you have a voice and you will be heard. We have almost 500 employees across the country doing some good things. But one of the challenges that we are facing, and I know that it isn't really being spoke about right now, but it is healthcare and the cost of healthcare and how that trickles down to us as an employer as those double digits hit every single year. And with everything else, with inflation, employees are struggling, going home and making some very hard decisions on whether or not they go get the treatment done in a timely manner or not. So healthcare and being able to offer an attractive benefits program to keep and retain our employees is really important and a struggle for us right now. Thank you for today.
So to that point, we did our survey this year. I'm going to share some of the results if we have time. But family businesses pay, 46% of them pay above average in terms of wages and benefits. So they really do appreciate their employees. They do really pay them better and give them better benefits. So I now see that Congresswoman Tenney is here. Thank you so much. She is one of our co-chairs. So I want to recognize you. I think you want to make a couple of comments.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone here, and thank you for being a family business owner. Our family business was started in 1946, and we're still going in upstate New York, though every day it gets harder and harder. We had two divisions. I ran the newspaper division, so I had the real news. That's what I like to say, not the fake news. We had the real news. We sold that division in 2004. Otherwise, I probably never would have ended up in politics, but it was back then. But all the things that I've just heard briefly, how difficult it is sometimes and how challenging the environment can be. I serve on the Ways and Means Committee, so we deal directly with taxes and some of the personal side that it was really good about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that helped our small family businesses, especially those that are innovating. And we're hoping that tax package that we did today, though, is just a little small slice of what we did back in 2017. There's some good things in that bill that I think are going to help our businesses a lot. But I just wanted to say to everyone out there who's running a family business, there are so many challenges. You cited healthcare. That is always a big challenge, especially in New York State. Getting good people to work for us and also having competitive benefits that we can compete with some of the people, the larger groups around us, and particularly government, and I'm including schools, because they can provide so much that we can. Our business was one of the very first to actually provided a 401k and healthcare before it was mandated, all those things, because we were trying to get a competitive edge on people, because we recognize how important people are. And we're still doing events. I know my brother just was telling me about an employee I work with in our business who is hitting their 50-year milestone, and we do those almost, it seems like every year now. And they're still working, and they still love doing what they do, and they are really part of our family. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you are in a family business, your employees are your family, and they mean so much to you, and you cannot thrive without having a really great workforce that feels appreciated and loved. And that's why, obviously in a small rural community where we are, it's particularly important. But I just want to say thank you to everyone and what you do. We appreciate it. Please come to us. And I see my New York colleague over there, Mark Molinaro, represents a large part of our district, including my family business. So we are grateful to him for standing up for the things that are really important to our family businesses. So it's a challenge in today's day, but I feel like this is going to be our future. We're going to be seeing more and more of this, and we need to make sure that we protect and allow these businesses to flourish. New young people, entrepreneurs, innovation, all those things are going to be terrific for us. So I just want to say thank you, and I love being part of the caucus. I've met so many interesting people and great people that run family businesses. I have family businesses in my district that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars too. They're not all small. And those are challenging, and as a lawyer, I can tell you on the succession side and the legal side of it, the estate practice, that's a whole other issue. But we're not big enough that anyone cares, so when we get to that point someday, maybe it'll be an issue. But thanks again to all of you. We appreciate your time here, and thank you again, Pat. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your leadership in this caucus. We really appreciate it. So I'd like to keep going down here so we can finish the panel. So Robert Huggins from Bush Brothers.
Awesome. I'm Robert Huggins from Bush Brothers and Company. So you probably know us with our cheeky dog and some baked beans. Definitely a beloved brand. I remember when I got the phone call about Bush Brothers about 12 years ago. It'll be 12 years in April for me. And I told the recruiter, I'm eating a can of Bush's seasoned black beans cold, talking to you right now. I said, that's my job. And little did I know I had no business saying that's my job, because one of the challenges that we face is we are a very rigorous employer. It's hard to get on at Bush Brothers. But the reason that it's hard is because the values that our founder, Mr. A.J. Bush, caring, responsibility, integrity, and trust, being a part of a community of companions, feels so different in today's business environment than it did when he started our company in 1908. The juxtaposition that sometimes people get is like, this sounds too good to be true. So for me, when I called my parents and I said, hey, do you guys know about Bush Brothers and Company? My mom and dad told me, very similar to what you said, Congresswoman. Yes, that's the same pork and beans product that we ate when we were little kids as well. That's a good company. So the challenge that we have is we can find really, really sharp people. People will beat the door down and try to get in at Bush. But as you extend outside of our region, we're not in a huge city. We're in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm not Chicago. I'm not New York. I'm not St. Louis, which is where I grew up. But if I can get you in the front door, if I can get you there to see the visitor center, if I can get you there to meet our chairman, our CEO, our people, that's what's important. And I shared this earlier today in another office. When I think about friends, don't anybody that knows Drew, our chairman, please don't tell him I said this, but these are real dollars. Our bonus program is called BEST. It stands for Bush Employees Succeed Together. $500 million over the last 25 years has been distributed not out to the family, they've done well, but to the employees. So when I look at the investment and the importance of tax policy and the things that you all have heart for, Congressman, I think about you in the agribusiness. I was up here last week with the U.S. Dry Bean Council trying to talk about getting a farm bill across the finish line. All of these things, as we think about the intersection of policy, business, and industry, impact us at Bush Brothers because we hold a responsibility to make sure that we not only feed the family, Bush Beans family, but also the families of our employees and also the folks that live across the country as well. It's really important, even though I don't benefit per se from the transition of wealth from one generation to the next, my family does, because I have a daughter who's getting ready to go to college next year, and I wouldn't think of any other better place to do it than Bush Brothers. Thank you.
So before we move on, I want to recognize Congressman Maldonado. Thank you for coming. He comes from a district where we have a wonderful board member, Steve Wells, American Food and Vending, a wonderful family business that employs almost 1,000 people. So did you want to make some comments?
I'll be very brief. And I'll also, I know my colleagues know that we're just kicked off voting, so when Claudia leaves, we may all have to leave. But Claudia and I actually served in the New York State Legislature together, and her business background has been a tremendous help in policy development, and it's great to join the caucus. And I'm thankful to Steve, not only for his investment, but for encouraging me to participate. I'll just offer very, very briefly, I asked to serve on the Small Business Committee here in the House for an important reason. It doesn't always get the attention that maybe the judiciary or some other committees do, but every day we're trying to identify layers of bureaucracy and regulation that we can lift off of small businesses. Now, not every not every family-owned business is small, some are very large, but just about every small business is family-owned, or at least once was. And of course, as we spoke some months ago, I think on a Zoom call, we also know that 70 to 75% of new jobs are created by existing small and medium-sized businesses. Most of them are invested in communities. Most of them are family-owned. And all of it is a major component of not only this national economy, but our community's economy. I represent a part of New York that sadly too many communities can say these same words. That's where such and such used to be. The manufacturing and the development of upstate New York, 11 counties in upstate New York once was. But now what we're seeing, of course, are entrepreneurs and innovators and investors taking their small ideas and making them into big businesses again. Almost every case, family-owned. And what's so very special, I think, about family-owned business, and Claudia and others know this, is the commitment to the employees and the neighbors. The real desire to invest in the community, support your employees in a way that helps them flourish. And I think that, quite frankly, it's the kind of thing that built America. And frankly, we need to be more supportive of family-owned businesses, small businesses as well. And hopefully, together we can achieve some success on their behalf. But thank you, glad to be with you. And I too love pushing things.
So before we finish the panel, I just want to thank all you members of Congress that have come. We really appreciate your support, being here, being members of the caucus. I know you're going to have to run at some point for the votes, but once again, we wouldn't have this caucus if it wasn't for all of you, so thank you so much. So Dennis,
Yeah.
we're going to move on to you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that as my parents started the business and are slowly transferring that business to me now, they've always reminded me I have a big responsibility. Not only am I responsible now for 180 colleagues, their families, and their loved ones, but I'm also growing their legacy, harnessing the culture that they built over the last 39 years, and how we continue to scale the business. So it's tough sometimes when we're talking about, kind of, Congressman, you mentioned it, about lawyers, talking about the estate planning, things like that, because it really is a lot of stress, a lot of money that's diverted that should be put back into the business and so forth. So I just want to say I'm really appreciative that you guys are all part of this caucus and really fighting the fight of all of us up here as business owners. And I want to introduce you to my colleague who's been with us for 28 years, started when he was 10 years old, and has really been a big role model of what GST is and represents.
Well, thank you very much. Working for a family-owned business, we find ways to make it work, right? The resources are very limited. We have to be scrappy. So no matter what, we always find ways to make it work. And we have core values and responsibilities, not only for our customers, but also for our colleagues and for our coworkers. But at the same time, it's getting harder and harder because, trying to meet the customer delivery schedule, trying to meet the customer service, we're relying a lot more on our competitors overseas. We're losing jobs here because we can't find trades here. We have to rely on overseas trades. So for us, we used to recruit from vocational schools, from trade schools, but those are long gone. We don't have those anymore, and we're having issues, we're having challenges in recruiting and retaining. So for me, I'm very fortunate to be able to still be with GST for 28 years, but I think those times are gone. Nowadays, we'd be lucky if we have employees that stays with us for more than 2 years, right? Because the longevity with the company and to be able to recruit talents is very challenging. And that's why I think for us, we want to be able to look at workforce development, to be able to keep jobs here so that we can continue to grow and make our business, family-owned business better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry. Chris.
All right. Closing it up. Try to be quick. I'm a car dealer. I'm not usually good at that. But I just want to say, and funny because I really started to change a lot of what I was thinking sitting here, because what really crossed my mind is I've been in the automotive industry for 27 years, 7 years with the company I am with right now. The first 20 years, I was with almost predominantly public companies, and that was it. And what I never heard, that I've heard from every single person here so far, they never talked about caring about our employees or the communities or taking care of people. It was about efficiency, numbers, layoffs, and especially with dealerships. One thing I'm noticing is car dealers were traditionally family-owned independent stores that were backbones of their community. They sponsored the Little League team, the Boys and Girls Club. Most of the communities we do business in all 6 of our stores, are surrounded by auto malls and a lot of public companies. And we notice we're the only ones around that are donating to the local charities, working with the communities and doing things like that. And it's a combination of things. One, the POGA rules in California are just crazy, the amount of money we're paying out on that. And most independent stores can't afford to survive that more than once or twice. Also, a lot of the regulations regarding electric vehicles, that certain percentages of sold and mandates that are put in place, not only are not what the public's ready for, and as a result, we actually have to lose money to sell them. But in addition to that, the investment in technology now moving forward is causing, unfortunately, we're big enough to be of the size now to invest in that technology, but we're watching the single point family-owned stores around us selling off to the publics one after another. And there's so much consolidation going on in our industry right now because of the fact that between taxation, between regulation, between the lawsuits, between technologies that the public's not even asking for, is making it almost impossible for the small dealer to survive. And one thing, any family business, I have all the respect in the world for. I love the way they support the employees. But car dealerships traditionally were not college educated. It was the guy who worked his way up from the sales line. And having that opportunity being removed from this country, I think is an absolute tragedy.
So,
Wasn't what I was planning on saying, but everybody inspired me so much.
So I know you have to leave for a vote. I just wanted to say this is exactly what we wanted to have happen, is for you to all come and give us opinions of what's happening, and us to be able to share these stories. So if you have any questions before you leave of this panel, they're open to answer.
I think that I really heard your presentation. Those are all things I would hit on if I was on your side of the table when you were over here. And by the way, I ran for Congress because I didn't like the way the country was going. So I set my business aside and did it. So I expect the same of you. Just the opportunities, we need to get it in here and bring the real world experience to this change. It can be done, and it is responsible.
Well, yes, absolutely.
I just want to echo what a lot of you have said. One of the things that surprised me the most when I came to Congress 6 years ago is there are very few people here making policy who have ever signed the front of a paycheck. So it's what John's saying is very, very important that some of you step forward. I am married to a car dealer. We now have a third generation. Our 40-something-year-old sons are involved in the business. But when my father-in-law got out of World War II and went to selling trucks, he said, by golly, if I sell trucks, I'm going to be the best damn truck salesman they ever had. Then he became the manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember in the 70s when he looked at my husband and said, if it's only you and me here, we'll keep these doors open. But I've been in Congress 6 years. I'm on Ways and Means. We need him there too. Thank you.
Thank you all. So next I'm going to share the survey results. So Michael, if you want to put up the survey results. All right, so this is the 2024 Family Enterprise USA Annual Survey. Michael, you want to move the slide, please? Thank you. So we are very pleased to have EY as our Platinum Plus sponsor. They have been very supportive of our work, and they supported this survey. Can you move the slide? These are some of the family business centers and other groups that distribute the questionnaire and the survey around the country. We couldn't do it without these groups. You can flip to the next slide. They're very, very important to our focus. John Gugliano does an amazing job connecting with all of these family business centers around the country and some of the other groups. You can see some of the associations, trade associations that support our work. In fact, all five of these are now members of Family Enterprise USA. All of their membership is now members of Family Enterprise USA. So let's talk about the results. We got 789 respondents, 25% more than we did last year in 40 states. So family businesses are important. That's why we're all here. Wish we had a bigger crowd, but we're growing. We're building. 32 million family businesses in America. 87% of the businesses in America are family-owned businesses. 83 million jobs, 59% of the workforce, 54% of the GDP, $7.7 trillion. That's why you are important. So, the industries, what may surprise you is that we are a country of family farms, but look how many are actually in the farming industry. Only 4%. In fact, 22% of our business owners are manufacturers, right? Construction, real estate, retail. So we have to make sure that we don't just talk about family farms. Again, it is a country of family farms. We need to talk about all the industries, and that's why we represent all those industries. And oh, by the way, the issues that the farmers face, which is the illiquid nature of their assets, is the same issue that the manufacturers face. So, how many years have they been in operation? 81% have been in business 20 years or more. How many public companies can say that? 20 years or more. And look at this. 32% have been in business 50 to 100 years. That's pretty amazing. 50% give to local charities or local chapter of a national charity. They support their community. And in fact, as I already said, 46% pay above average in terms of wages and benefits. So they treat their employees better than non-family businesses. This year, the top tax policy is still income tax, but it's 41% down from 50% from last year. Estate tax is number 2, but it's down to 19% from 27%. So income tax is still important because we know why. 80% of you are pass-through entities. You're paying 37% of taxes. 21% is what corporations pay. That's not exactly, Mark Warren will keep me honest on this, not exactly the answer, but it's close enough. So income tax is still important, estate tax is important, but what has grown? Look at this down here. Wealth tax wasn't even on the screen last year. Wealth tax is a reality. Family businesses are very worried about wealth tax. 5%. Again, it wasn't even on the screen last year. Economic policy in 2023, the top economic policy was again income tax. Number 2 was the estate tax. Number 3 was simplifying the tax code. We'll see where we are today. This may shock you, it did me. Look at their top economic policy issue. It is the debt. It is our national debt. And I believe that's because family businesses understand what debt does to their businesses. They understand what debt does to the country. So this is the first time we've ever asked this question. And the theme of this caucus meeting is workforce issues. What are those workforce issues? Some of you on the panel all talked about those. 54% say recruiting and retaining is my top issue. Second is benefits. Talked about benefits. And third is that culture building that we know family businesses do so well. But this, and I will tell you, one of the issues that family businesses are dealing with at this level is not only recruiting, training, but immigration policy that affects them. Generations of employees. Second time we've asked this question. Family businesses not only have generations of family members in the business, They have generations of employees. 70% have generations of employees in the business. Mother, father, cousin, aunt, uncle. And again, this question is the first time we've asked this because we needed to know this. So members of Congress have asked us this question. If you paid less in taxes, what would you do with that money? And in fact, 52% said, I would reinvest it in the business. 30% said I would reinvest it or pay my employees more. And only 8% said I would distribute the money out to myself. So we know that reducing taxes on family businesses is going to create more economic activity because they're going to invest back in the business. They're going to pay their employees better and they're going to invest back in the business. I think this is a very important statistic for our members of Congress. Trust. First time we've asked this question. 75% of you use trust for planning. I don't think this is a surprise for those of us who work for family businesses most of our career. But this is important for members of Congress to know because they're trying to eliminate trust or make great changes that'll hurt you in your ability to succession plan and build your legacy. And that is it. So we have more. We will be coming out with that in the next week or two. Again, this is preliminary results, some of our top slides. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
What surprised you most about the survey results?
Probably reducing taxes. 52% would invest back in their business because I hoped their business, and when you look at it, 82% of their business are their employees. I hope that's the case. I've always believed that's the case. I tell members of Congress that, but I never had the statistic before. Now we have it. So great question, Rose. Yes, Mr. Kingston.
Where did tort reform fall?
Really? It's not a family business question. No, we didn't have it. We didn't have it as a point.
Wow.
Because it's never been raised by any of our family businesses.
Not frivolous lawsuits.
No, it's never been raised, Jack. Sorry.
Ask the panel.
No big issue.
If we could get rid of frivolous lawsuits?
Well, in the scope, remember, in the scope of all the issues you're dealing with, where does it sit? It didn't sit. We didn't even put it in the mix, Jack, because it wasn't even something that we've heard anyone talk about. Not that it's not important, but in the level of importance.
But are your insurance premiums going down?
No.
You know, that's just
No.
the cost of insurance. That's just kind of interesting. Because I think it's usually recognized when the premiums come in a lot higher than they were the year before. So.
Well, I would say for the 3 California business owners,
Yeah.
we're talking about
Yeah.
The Congress brought it up.
Yeah. That's fair.
Aga lawsuit.
That's fair.
We talked about it internally, Todd, about bringing that up, and then we felt like retaining or attracting talent and apprenticeships was more of it's a little bit more higher than
What's higher?
lawsuits.
Well, that's fair. And to your point, this is why we do this. Now we know it's an issue. Next year's survey will have it on the survey. That's how we come up with these questions, is we talk to family business owners, we ask what they're dealing with, and we talk to members of Congress and say, what do you need to know? And then we put the survey together based on what things do we need to answer for our family business owners and our members of Congress. It's a good point, Jack. Thank you. So we are at the hour. Is there any other input anyone would like to give us? Because officially we start the reception. I'm sure everybody's anxious for that. We do have a 6-minute workforce video we're going to play during the reception, so you can watch it or not, but we think it's interesting. Obviously, we put it together. So any last comments anyone has or any questions? Okay, I guess it's a wrap. Thank you all so much for coming and being part of this conference.
Thank you.
we've also learned that family businesses treat their employees many times like their families. And so they, in fact, have generations of employees working in the business. We found that 75% of businesses have generations of employees working in the business. So I'd like to know, first of all, do you have generations of employees working in the business? And are there any stories you'd want to share with us about that?
We do. We have more than I even know. I stumble into, you're his sister, you're his mom. I never put the two together.
In my business, it ended up being different because our culture is so strong, and I've had all these employees that have worked for us for so many years that when I started to plan my exit, I was turning 65 and I was beginning to plan my exit. At that time, Paige had not expressed an interest yet.
Well, and when you have that longevity, it plays into safety, institutional knowledge. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can gain from that.
Because I think they realize that the values that my great grandfather espoused, integrity, responsibility, trust, and caring, they guide our decisions, they guide our behaviors, and that really influences the workplace. And so, and really by the commitment of those values, we seek to be very competitive in terms of compensation and wages with our employees. We provide excellent benefits to our employees, and we still provide retirement.
We have a lot of people send their kids here for internships, working in the lab or working in the international department. We offer those first to employees' families, and then we get a lot of customers from overseas. They want their kids to learn English, and so we have good relationships with customers around the world, and they'll send their semi-adult, their kids in high school or college.
Whenever we talk about being a family business, it's really not about our family so much as it's also about all of those families that depend on us. After all, these families are our greatest stakeholders. We often say our business is about families serving one another, as together we serve our customers.
Core part of our philosophy is we want to reinvest in the people that work for us. And so usually at the end of the day, I think like any family business or any business owner knows, you give out, you do everything you need to keep the business successful and healthy. And then you make sure that you take care of all the people that are out there working for us and their families. And then whatever's left over, comes to the family, right? We're the last in line, right?
Our business, like many other family businesses, struggles with adding to our workforce. We really take pride in being a great place to work. But in general, as you know, in society, we haven't put a lot of people into the trades the last, couple of decades. Everybody had to go to college and try to get a white collar job.
When you talk about, workforce issues today, what do you think are some of the big issues that you're facing as an organization?
Our number one biggest challenge to growth, to taking care of our customers, is finding enough technicians. And we've got multitude of programs and things going to try to get more technicians, but it's a systemic type thing. It's not something we as one company can solve, but we're trying to do the best we can to solve it for us. So that is our number one issue.
We kind of need more people, and immigration has been very inconsistent. And I would just kind of ask that somehow we reach across these aisles and come up with a longer term plan. It can't be every election cycle. It's got to be something that we can be welcoming new people into this country that want to work and want to contribute.
But it's a nightmare to try to hire somebody who's immigrating in legally or illegally. And so we started looking into what it would take to bring in a guest worker. And after about 10 pages of notes and 2 hours of sitting with an immigration attorney, we just threw up our hands and said, there's no way we can manage a business like that. So things like that at a federal level, if we could really get some immigration, and I don't know if you call it reform or just streamlining or whatever, but there's got to be a really lot of good hands coming in that we could put to work, and we'd help train and and can fill some of these needs.
So thank you for bringing that up, and we may call upon you actually to further expand on that and maybe talk to members of Congress.
I am absolutely happy to help however I can in that regard. It is a very frustrating piece where you think you've got good talent out there and you can't get to them. So happy to help.